Okay, the next part you want to do is you want to prepare this for putting the new seals and guide bushings on if you're going to replace the guide bushings. If you got more than 50,000 miles, I guess I'd change the guide bushings. But a couple things to note. Right here there are two 90-degree edges. This will cut your seal, so what you want to do is you want to make sure you have tape. The other thing is this hole right here also has 90-degree edges, so you also need to tape that as well. And the way that I suggest you do it is you start in the back and you run a piece of good masking tape as wide as you can over it. And the reason I start in the back is for the simple reason that if you start from the front, you're going to have an edge from the tape. I rather have it coming off the edge than going up over the edge. You can see that now it will be falling over the tape. All we're looking to do is make sure that we don't cut the seals when we slide them on. Okay, when you're done doing that, you want to get a little bit of oil on that. Make sure you lube it up. This is very important as well. Make sure you put it on. It's a little bit wet. I use the old oil because it's handy. It's not like there's big metal chunks floating on the top. They usually sediment out a little bit. And you install the first seal, which is the dust seal. And again, you also want to make sure that you have a generous amount of oil on this as well, on the inner lips. Now this is where walking the seal on becomes important. Don't force it once you get over those edges. And that's the first one. You can see that I dragged all the oil down. Next, you want to make sure that the ring circlip is on. Then comes the new seal. Again, earlier we talked about these little grooves on this side. You zoom in there and take a look at them. You can see the little dots. Those are going to be coming out, as opposed to this side that does not. Also, you want to make sure that you lube this up. Be very careful with this seal. I don't suggest spinning it this way. Another thing you can do once you're done is load that thing up with oil. Make sure you don't see any streaks after you drag it down. Just to give yourself a little bit better idea. Next, you want a large washer, and then you want your bushings. You also want to give these a little bit of lube on them. And now we have one more bushing to install. We need to remove the tape. Go ahead and shut it off. Okay, for the last one, we just got done removing the tape. We wiped this good and clean. Put a little bit of oil on it. And you want to slide this over. Spread it just enough. You don't want to spread it too much. And then what you can do is, to help yourself out a little bit, go back in there with a little bit of a screwdriver. Once you get up over it, okay. Now, after you get a screwdriver in there, what you want to do is you want to take a little file and just run the 90-degree part of the file in there and just knock off a couple little burrs that you might have created if you're using the old bushings, or if you use a screwdriver while you're installing the new ones. Okay, this is a little trick. You can see that this bushing is sprung a little bit. They're always that way. It's not that big of a deal. You want to make sure it's clean first off. I mean, run it back and forth, and if there's any grit, wipe it away. Get it good and clean. Wipe some oil on it. Let the oil run out. But what I like to do is I like to take a piece of wire or a zip tie, and I've ground the ends off of these zip ties a little bit so it'll fit. And I compress this before I even install it. Take a zip tie, get her good and tight, and you can see now that I don't have as big of a crack there, and that will aid in the installation in a little bit. You'll still be able to get that zip tie out, and you want to make sure that you cut the tail off it. It's going to be a tight fit, and if it happens like every other time, I'll break this zip tie twice before it actually works. So, the next step is to reinstall the lower fork. Take your fork tube, slide it down and in. You can keep the upper guide bushing out. All you want to do is make sure that that lower guide bushing goes in. It's going in pretty decent. And again, you'll want to orientate this guide bushing to the outside of the bike. So it'll be right about there. And then I'll orientate the upper bushing with the inside of the bike. Now, once you get to this point, it's a little bit of a fight. You can get the circlip in there, or the zip ties. Might need a screwdriver to push them down a little bit. Now this is a special Honda tool. I put tape on the insides, reason being this is a steel tool and you're running on your forks. There's a protective coating on here, reason why they don't rust. I really don't like marring that up, so I put a nice little film of tape, and then the dowel pins come together, and then you actually slide hammer this down. Now, okay, so after we get it seated and I pulled out the zip tie, you want to drop this washer back down into the bore. You want to take your special tool again, just like so. And then you pound the bushing the rest of the way. Now your upper guide bushing is installed.